Local action. This is for us now. Initiate an incident report. We will give it to you. We made a very simple little form. Anything you see that doesn't fit your eye, doesn't fit your mind, especially after we've gone through this and made you comfortable with what you should be seeing, you write it down. The machinery doesn't work. The machinery fails. That's an anomaly. It shouldn't fail. Write it down. How they handle it. Do they take care of it right away? Are people trained to take care of it? Not, write it down. If a voter becomes boisterous, write it down. If an inspector loses it, write it down. If you believe that somebody is doing something irregular with a ballot, write it down. Okay?
Another question.
Sure.
Okay. Voter challenges in writing, there's a form for that. Where you're saying if you see, observe something, write it down. Where are you saying to write it down?
On the form we're going to give you.
It's for our use.
For
like
our use.
But this is not something you would give to the clerk?
No, this is just for our use.
Okay.
What we're going to do with these things, Greg was going to cover this, but what we're going to do with these things, we're going to collect them at the end, and we're going to categorize them,
Okay.
and we're going to produce a report of some sort for one, your purpose, our purpose, and then we think if we do this right, we can still. I want to send it to the supervisor because I want him to be able to see the errors that are being conducted in his precincts, and that maybe he can adjust his training. Maybe he needs to fire a person or two to make sure that the next one is better. Okay? That's our objective, is this, to get it as clean as we can get it and to raise the bar a little bit. What is this? It's a polling site. Isn't that lovely? That happens to be Jimmy B. Keel. I ran the one down in South Tampa, at the Jan Platt Library. It's the exact same room. We use a little different entrances, but we look very similar. Isn't that exciting? Look at that, pretty colors. I mean, you walk into that site, and what do you see? Wow, they got it together, don't they?
Yeah.
Okay? Big site. For you, if you go there, I don't know if we're going to send you there because they don't have any problems. Not only that, but they have a PhD running. But there's a lot of room there. There'll be room for multiple people, poll watchers, to be seated. You'll be able to get up and move around, almost at will, as long as you don't get in the way of the voter in the operation. And so you'll be able to move from place to place and observe whatever you need to observe whenever you wish to observe it in that kind of a site. The reality is, there are only 2 of those. No, there are 3 of them. Next election we may have 4 of them, because Bloomingdale may look even better than that. This is the reality. Yeah, you see this site? You see this room right here? That is this room. Okay, there are several sites that are about 30% smaller than this one. Okay, so where are you going to be?
Kitchen.
In the kitchen. Okay, you got it. Okay, that's my point. The clerk is limited as to what kind of space they can provide you. Okay, so if the clerk is a positive person, she will put you wherever they can to allow you maximum point of observation. Preferably 2 places. Now, Greg showed up when I was doing Bloomingdale at the last election, and I designated 2 places. Because in place 1, he could only see half the operation. So in order for him to carry out his function legally, I had to find a second place and just tell him, as long as you don't interfere, you are welcome to go from place 1 to place 2 at your leisure. Okay? That's what you would expect. I would expect that clerk to do for you. But here's the rub. It's going to be you representing Deepa Shah. You're going to be in there representing Stacy White. Rick Scott people are going to be in there. The pot people are going to be in there. And they're going to be drifting. Etc. So there's potential for 4 or 5 people in there. Okay? Where are you going to put 5 people here? Okay? Very tough. So you understand that. You're not going to argue with them. You're going to ultimately do what they say. Work with them, however. You do have a right to observe. If you can't observe the whole operation, ma'am, I'm sorry, but we've got to come up with a little bit of flexibility here so I can get to another corner so I can see the rest of the operation. Okay? If you have a problem with that, we're going to have a telephone number for you to contact so we can help resolve those kinds of issues. All right, any questions about that? This thing goes slow in changing positions, that's all right. If I was better at this, I'd have changed it already. Okay, and this is part of your comfort level again. You should bring a small folding chair. You see that space? Okay, they may not have chairs, depending where you are. Whether you're in a precinct or early voting. Early voting is going to be in a library. They'll have chairs. Okay, but if you're in a precinct, they may not have chairs. They may be in a little church that doesn't have any chairs particularly. They're all out in, they're only in pews. All right. So bring your own small folding chair if you have one. Otherwise, you're going to be standing up all the time. You need a seat cushion. 6 hours on that, and you're going to be sorry. Okay? You see those little holes? Okay? I'm permanently tattooed. Food, if you wish it. Medication, if you need it. And a sweater, or an extra shirt, or what have you. Because some of these libraries, I know this was pretty warm, frankly, but some of these libraries, in the course of the day when the air conditioning's on, they get very cold. They'll be down in the upper 60s temperature-wise. Isn't that right?
Yes, they do. Cool.
And of course, bring a communications device. Okay? You can't talk to us if you don't have a phone. Now you can always walk out into the library, what have you, and try and find a payphone, or tackle some kid that's walking down and see if you can use his. But better to bring your own, obviously. Okay? I'm going to give you a recommendation. We would like to see somebody observe the open, okay, and then stay for a period of time. The first 3 to 4 hours is critical, because especially in a precinct, but also in early voting, first 3 or 4 hours in Team A and Team B, because they're just starting. Even though they've been through training, even though they've had at least one election under their belt, even if they've had 4, 5, or 6 elections under their belt, at the end of every election, I would just dump all my database. So I'd have to get right back into it again, oh yeah, I remember, oh yeah, I forgot that one. So the first few hours can be confusing for them. We'd like you to watch that, because that's when significant error can occur, and potential fraud can occur, because they're looking at so many things, they're trying to solve so many problems all at the same time, that if somebody's going to cheat, that's probably the time they're going to do it when confusion reigns. I must tell you, my experience is on-site fraud is very rare. It really is very rare. I've had a few people run it on me. I've caught 2 or 3 of them, but I know a bunch of them got by me too. But it's rare. 120,000 votes, I probably know 5 or 6. Okay, so not a big thing on
So
site.
if we need to make a phone call, we need to leave the room, if we have to.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Okay. This is elementary stuff now. People that are allowed in the polling room. Believe it or not, there are rules here. Matter of fact, there are more than rules, there are laws here. Poll workers, obviously. Voters, obviously. SOE staff should obviously, should also be obvious to everybody. Persons being cared for by a voter, not so obvious. Ken, if you walk in and you have your elderly mother with you, she's not voting, but you are, but you have to take care of your elderly mother, you're more than welcome to bring your elderly mother in with you, because she's your responsibility. Okay? Voter assistor, what is that?
Someone who needs assistance.
Ken's my assistor.
But they have to fill out the form, correct?
We'll get to that. Okay, somebody knows some stuff here. Okay? Poll watchers, you. Anyone prior to opening or after closing the poll. Anyone. Before opening the poll, any member of the public, media, police officers, firemen, whatever can be in the space. By the clock strikes, whatever, whether it's 7 or whether it's 10 or whatever the start time is, those people must be gone. Once the last voter has left the space at the end of the night, then anybody can re-enter the space. The beginning and end, photographs can be taken, and you can discuss things with the clerk, actually with anybody in the space, but I would caution you not to do that until the very end and the clerk is done with their closing procedure. If you interrupted me in the middle of the closing, I would throw you right out in your ear. Okay? You will not interrupt my final audit. Okay? And if you see something odd in the closing or odd in the opening, make a note. Don't approach them with it. Make a note, and then when they're done, clerk, I'm not sure I understand what you just did. Would you explain it to me? If it really sounds odd, document it. Okay? You may or may not be right, and that's all right. That's what we'll do at the end, is we'll cull through those things. We'll make a determination whether they were they're valid concerns or not. Okay. People not allowed in the polling room. Now this may interest you also. Candidates, except to vote. That includes inside the 100-foot no solicitation area. Around the building, early voting, 100 feet circumference around the edge of the building is the no solicitation area. We'll talk about it in more detail. Visitors of any kind, no visitors. Scotchman? You're Frenchman? A Welshman. He's got his cousin from Wales. Okay? He might not want to recognize him necessarily, but he's in here anyway. And he says, I've always wanted to see an American election. Oh, no problem, come with me. Can't happen, no visitors. Okay? Members of the media, absolutely not. They can't even shoot through the door. Law enforcement and emergency personnel, not interesting. Why do you think that's the case? Any guesses?
Uniform.
Which means what?
Could be considered intimidation.
Intimidation. Historically in this country, and really very much so in Florida, even though back only about 25, 30 years, the police controlled the voting sites illegally.